The Power of Full Engagement by James E. Luer and Tony Schwartz. This summary is brought to you by Hook My Book. The book is about how to manage your energy more efficiently in order to achieve a balance of work and life. It provides practical advice on how to manage 4 key sources of energy: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, to maximize performance. It also offers a step-by-step program to help readers achieve effective energy management. We live in a world where our rhythms are rushed and frantic, and we tend to celebrate breadth over depth. We skim across the surface of things, barely pausing to take in the full experience. We often run out of energy, and our days are filled with stress and fatigue. High performance is not just about working hard, it's also about managing your energy. Energy, not time, is the fundamental currency of high performance. Without the right quantity, quality, focus, and force of energy, you're compromised in any activity you undertake. The premise of this book is simple: performance, health, and happiness are grounded in the skillful management of energy. You must become fully engaged in order to achieve your goals. The challenge of great performance is to manage your energy more effectively in all dimensions, so that you are in the high positive quadrant. Full engagement requires drawing on 4 different sources of energy. These are physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Each has its own importance in terms of performance. When any one is depleted, the ability to be fully engaged is diminished. When you're using energy, you need to make sure to balance it out with energy renewal, or else you'll wear down over time. The mind and body are one. The primary markers of physical capacity are strength, endurance, flexibility, and resilience. These are the same markers of capacity emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. When we are fully engaged, we have strength, endurance, flexibility, and resilience in all dimensions. Push and recover. The author says that in order to build emotional, mental, and spiritual capacity, we must push beyond our normal limits and then recover. Doing so literally causes microscopic tears in the muscle fibers, which results in growth. The limiting factor in building any muscle is that many of us back off at the slightest hint of discomfort. To meet increased demand in our lives, we must learn to systematically build and strengthen muscles wherever our capacity is insufficient. Positive energy rituals are a way to make sure you do things in a certain way without having to think about it. This helps you save energy, which you can then use to do more things. The author discusses how to make lasting changes in your life, and one of the steps is to find your purpose. This can be difficult because we often don't have time to reflect on what matters to us, and we spend most of our time reacting to immediate crises. To make lasting changes, we need to find a way to spend our time that is consistent with our values, and this can be difficult. Energy is simply the capacity to do work. Our most fundamental need as human beings is to spend and recover energy. Periodization is the practice of dividing a training program into periods of increasing intensity and duration. This is done in order to optimize performance by alternately taxing the body and allowing it to rest. The concept can be traced back to the ancient Greek philosopher, Philostratus, and Russian scientists revived the practice in the 1960s. The basic principle of periodization hasn't changed much over the years, but the science has become more precise. Intermittent renewal. The author discusses how humans are naturally oriented towards oscillation, or a rhythmic, cyclical pattern of activity and rest. This oscillation is essential for optimal performance and health. When we live more linear lives, we tend to experience more stress, fatigue, and dysfunction. When we lack sufficient energy to meet the demands in our lives, we turn to stimulants such as caffeine. When we can't relax naturally, we may begin to rely on alcohol or sleeping pills to cool down. If you are drinking several cups of coffee to stay alert during the day and a couple of drinks or several glasses of wine to disengage in the evening, you are simply masking your own linearity. The solution is intermittent renewal. The author gives an example of Roger, who is living a highly linear life. By working long hours and rarely shutting down, even when he is home, he is relentlessly spending mental energy without getting much recovery. This causes fatigue, anxiety, irritability, and self-doubt, which in turn leads to physical and spiritual underdevelopment. Roger is not much different than many of us, in part because the choices we are making are so socially sanctioned. Our modern world is against taking rest. It demands continuous work and discourages any breaks. But, this is against how nature works. All organisms follow life-sustaining rhythms: birds migrating, bears hibernating, squirrels gathering nuts, and fish spawning, all of them at predictable intervals. Workers in Japan who put in more than 3,120 hours per year are at a higher risk for death from overwork, which is called karoshi. There are 5 key factors that contribute to karoshi: extremely long hours that interfere with normal recovery and rest, night work that interferes with normal recovery and rest, working without holidays or breaks, high-pressure work without breaks, and extremely demanding physical labor and continuously stressful work. These 5 factors have in common a pattern of chronic energy expenditure and absence of intermittent recovery. Physical energy. The paradox is that in order for the body to build more muscle fibers in anticipation of future stress, the body must experience increased stress in the present. This is done by challenging the muscle past its current capacity, which prompts the body to build more muscle fibers. This in turn allows the person to endure short-term discomfort in the present in the service of long-term reward. This is why it is so important to accurately assess the level of threat in one's life in order to continue to grow. The author discusses how physical energy is important for performance in different areas of life. He talks about how physical energy is derived from the interaction between oxygen and glucose, and how building a rhythmic balance between physical energy expenditure and recovery ensures that the level of our energy reserves remains relatively constant. Pushing past our comfort zone, and then recovering, is a means by which to expand physical capacity where it is insufficient to meet demand. Water is a very important source of physical energy. By drinking water at intervals throughout the day, we can stay hydrated and perform better. Dehydration can also lead to problems such as decreased strength and speed, concentration, and even mortality. However, drinking coffee and other caffeinated drinks does not have any significant health benefits. The author discusses how our energy levels fluctuate throughout the day and how this can impact our ability to be engaged and productive. It cites research that suggests that a nap in the early afternoon can improve performance by an average of 34%. Emotional energy. The author discusses how physical and emotional energy are connected, and how negative emotions such as anger and frustration drain our energy and can lead to negative health consequences. The author also discusses how positive emotions such as joy and happiness help us to be more productive and have longer careers. Simply changing channels can be an effective way to refuel emotionally. When we are frequently engaging in activities for pleasure and emotional renewal, we are more likely to be relaxed and perform better. Television is one of the primary sources of pleasure and emotional renewal, but it is often not nutritious or engaging. Conversely, the richer and deeper the source of emotional recovery, the more we refill our reserves and the more resilient we become. Effective emotional renewal puts us in a position to perform more effectively, especially under pressure. Emotional demand is too much for one's emotional capacity, even if one is regularly seeking renewal. Just as there is a limit to how much weight one can lift, there is a limit to how much emotional demand one can tolerate. The best way to increase one's emotional capacity is to push past one's current comfort zone and then recover. The authors discuss how emotions are important for performance. They say that it is difficult to have 2 opposing emotions at the same time, and that this is what makes us human. We have a range of emotions, some of which are more powerful than others. It is important to be able to access all of our emotions, and to be able to use them in the right way. For example, when we are stressed, it is important to be able to summon positive emotions in order to cope with the stress. Emotional muscles such as patience, empathy and confidence can be strengthened in the same way that we strengthen a bicep or a triceps, pushing past our current limits followed by recovery. Mental capacity. Mental capacity refers to how well we can focus and organize our lives. The key supportive mental muscles are mental preparation, visualization, positive self-talk, effective time management, and creativity. When we have a balance between expending and recovering mental energy, we have a maximum mental capacity. When we lack the mental muscles we need to perform at our best, we must systematically build capacity by pushing past our comfort zone and then recovering. Continuing to challenge the brain serves as a protection against age-related mental decline. Rituals. Rituals are tools that we use to manage our energy and to ensure that we are working on things that are important to us. Rituals help us to translate our values and priorities into action. All great performers rely on rituals to manage their energy and to regulate their behavior. The limitations of conscious will and discipline are rooted in the fact that every demand on our self-control draws on the same limited resource. We can offset our limited will and discipline by building rituals that become automatic as quickly as possible, fueled by our deepest values. The most important role of rituals is to ensure effective balance between energy expenditure and energy renewal in the service of full engagement. End of the summary. Thanks for listening.